Okay, guys, thank you so much for giving me the floor. I'll try my best to kind of give you guys an idea. I know Sunil wanted me to talk about, the things that worked for me, what may have not worked for me. So I made a little bit of a list. I'll go through like some of the things that worked for me. So I do just only pre-construction on Sunil's team. So I'm assuming a lot of you guys will be doing pre-construction as well. So some of the things that did work for me was number one, far and foremost, was coming to the office. Reason for that is number one, when we come to the office, there's not much to do except work. So your focus is very undivided. You're there, you might have to go home in a couple of hours. You're like, hey, I'm here, let me bang it out, do as much work as I can possibly get done. So in terms of, being more productive, I think the office is the best place to be. Other than that, I think coming to the office really helps you with feeling motivated as well. So, I come to the office. Ajay's always in the office, Samriti's in the office, Sunil's in the office, Anchal's in the office, and when you hear other people making calls, you hear other people booking appointments, it kind of motivates you as well. It may or may not be working for you at that time, but you will feel that, motivation that, hey, if it's working for them, it's going to work for me as well. I just have to also keep going. Along with that, being in the office will keep you more informed and more educated on projects, new policies that are coming up, whatever it may be. You will definitely be learning more by coming to the office. And you get, the opportunity to kind of, pick your colleagues' brains as well and kind of ask them what's working for them, what method they're using, and kind of, keep yourself more informed is basically what it is.
Yes.
And another thing will be like, sometimes I'll come in the office, it's not working out for me. I feel like, I'm putting in the work, not really closing anything. And, sometimes I'll speak to Ajay, I'll be like, oh my God, Ajay, like, I haven't been able to like get any appointments, this and that. And he'll say, you know what, for me as well. So you do also sometimes feel that you're not alone. And then there'll be other times where, I'll follow up with one of my colleagues and they'll say, yeah, we have managed to book appointments. So then that's also giving you, the feeling that, hey, you know what, it does work. Like if they continue doing the same thing, I just have to continue doing the same thing as well, and it'll work out for me. So number one tip, I would say, come to the office. Being at home, being in that comfortable, environment, you're not going to be locked in and be able to focus completely.
Yes.
Number two would be making calls. This is a little bit more, I guess, for pre-construction, but even for resale, you have to still do your prospecting. The more calls you make, the better results you'll have. So, now the other day I was talking to Mamta about this as well, that our conversion rate has gone down so much. Even if we say it's like, 1% conversion rate, we may make 100 calls and get zero, but our next 100 calls, we may get two. So the more calls you make, the better your results will be. If you're gonna, make the bare minimum calls and it's not working for you, then you need to maybe up the number of calls you're making. Sometimes it's not what we're doing. It may be sometimes, but sometimes it's just, those people may just not be interested and you got to keep it pushing. So I would say the more calls you make, the better your results will be. And I think that's reflected in my work as well. The times where I was making, hundreds of calls was when I was closing the deals. When I'm making only, 30 calls every day and skipping days here and there, I'm not seeing the results that I want to see. Number three, what's really worked for me as well is being very well informed on a project and staying up to date with the information and, being on ground. So for me, last year, I worked on 1107. For that project, I knew the ins and outs of the project. I knew the team that was working on that project. I knew information about the builder. I had gone to enough presentations where I could do the entire builder presentation without the builder being there. And that really worked out for me because when I'd be speaking to clients, it wasn't just, hey, this is the pricing, this is this. I was able to give them a one, two extra detail that the builder was doing in their presentation. And I feel like that really locked them in, and I was able to invite them to the presentations, and then they felt a little bit more interested. So the more informed you are on a project, the more confident you'll feel in selling it. And if you're not confident in selling it, like people will be able to tell, like they'll be able to realize that you're also not, like you don't believe in this project. So find a project that you think is very good and know the ins and outs. Like you should be able to, if a client calls you and they say, hey, I'm looking for a 1 bedroom, you should know who to call, what to say, how to get the inventory, get an updated hot list. You should know that about whatever project you're working on.
Yes.
And, it shouldn't take you days and days to figure out if the unit's available. So make sure all the information that a client may need from you, you have that, and then extra. Have some more information as well. Another thing I would say is setting the appointments and, of course, meeting the clients in person. I think the era of us closing deals over the phone has gone down. It's more about in person, relationships. And you being in person, for me, the biggest thing is I know the client is serious. If they're not going to even take the time to come meet me in person, they may still be on the fence. But if they're coming in person, I know they have the money for it and they're definitely in the market. They may buy now or they may buy 3 months from now, but they're definitely in the market. And that's a client you want to stay in touch with. And that's a client you want to follow up with consistently. Another thing that I think has worked for me as well is following up with them until they basically say no. So last year, me and Sunil, like we were working on 1107. We were, sending out the emails for people to book appointments to come to the presentation. I'd call somebody, they would say, hey, we're going to come. And sometimes they can't make it. They'll say, sorry, we're unable to come. I kept calling them. Even the next weekend, if there's another presentation, I'd call them again and say, hey, I know you missed it last weekend. Are you available to come this weekend? And sometimes they say yes, sometimes they say no, but I'd keep calling them until they either get there or they say, like, we're not interested or we're not coming. And then sometimes, you know what, people stop answering your phone. Most likely they're not going to attend, but I would still send them a text message saying, hey, just to let you know, we have another presentation, blah, blah, blah. And, just kind of keep going until they say no, which is something I also need to work on. It's very easy to feel discouraged, like the client's not answering, they keep telling me to call back, but they don't answer. It is just another person in your list of contacts to call. Just keep calling them as well. If they say no, we don't want it, that's a different story, of course. But you want to keep following up and make sure, you're staying in touch because you just never know. For me, I had a client, he wanted to buy in one of our we were selling a like an office space, and he had come with his friend. They did the meeting with Sunil and I, and ended up not working out. They were like, we're gonna think about it, but they kind of disappeared on me after that. But we were continuously sending them the emails and the messages on the new projects, and then almost a year later he saw M City 6, and I was able to sell that to him. So keeping in contact is very important. Because he had come in person, he had taken the time to sit down. He told us his financial situation. We knew that he had the money to invest, and sooner or later he's going to come back into the market. So if someone's solid like that, you don't want to let them go. You want to, keep your hook in them for sure.
Yes.
Um, some things that didn't work for me, I would say, is, kind of losing the motivation and the hope. Like sometimes, things aren't working out for you and you just kind of feel very discouraged. You don't want to feel like that helpless feeling. So you start getting busy in other aspects of your life.
Yes.
That, of course, is not the right mindset to have. Like I was saying earlier, like if it's not working now, it'll work for you later. And, Sunil posted a quote the other day, which I really liked, which said, like, it was something along the lines when a fisherman's not able to fish, but they're preparing their nets for, when they can. So even when it's not working for you, that's you preparing. That's you preparing for your next few deals. And you're still in the game. You're not out of the game. You're just, waiting for your time to come. So you always want to be prepared for when the deal's going to come and when the client's going to come. And another thing happens is when you are taking time off and you're kind of, losing the motivation, you're not staying in touch. Guess what? Now, when you do come back, you have to relearn about the new projects in the market. You got to figure out what the new trends are, what projects are hot. If you stay in the game the whole time, you're always up to date. You always know kind of what's going on. So whenever a random client may drop into your lap, you are well prepared and you already have all the information and the projects ready to go. So that's kind of what worked for me and what didn't work for me. And then I also did want to share things that I'll be doing for myself this year to make
Okay.
sure my business is better.
Yes.
So number one is educating myself more, and that I was inspired by Parm. I was very inspired and impressed actually that he's taking time to do a lot of self development as well. Whether he's
Yeah.
taking some seminars, he's going to classes, whatever he may be doing, reading. I really liked that. And I thought, if we're working on ourselves, like it'll definitely reflect in our business as well. So that's one thing I'll be doing. Number two
So,
would be
do you have any plan for educating yourself, any specific books, TV shows, anything that you are planning to do?
Yeah, so this is, depends on the person's personality, but I love watching real estate shows. Like that's one thing I absolutely love. I love watching how beautiful the properties are. I love seeing those guys hustle to, close those properties. And a lot of these shows, it's like millions of dollars worth of mansions, So it takes a lot of work to sell those. And also seeing the amount of commission they're making and all of that, that keeps you very inspired as well because of course we want to get to the next level all the time, right? So I see these people that are at a higher level than me. They're closing, $10 million properties, $15 million properties, and a lot of these times these agents are very young as well. So I see this and it's an inspiration for me, and I'm like, wow, like there's so much money to be made in this business. um,
Yes.
Along with that, I did start a new course on Mind Valley. Maybe Sunil can let you guys know a little bit about that. But it's basically an online platform, it's an education platform. You can educate yourself on absolutely anything from fitness to career to personal growth. There's so many topics you can do. So this year, I really want to explore that platform and, work on different things. It may not always be, career based, it could be something about self improvement, but you'll
Yeah.
see that reflect in your business in all aspects of your life. So I have that going for myself, and I do want to get into, of course, reading a little bit more. When you are reading these like educational books, it's very hard to kind of read them. They're not like entertainment; they're more education based. But even as little as reading 4 or 5 pages a day, that will still keep you ahead of the game. So that's kind of what I want to do in terms of self development. Along with that, also educating yourself about the market, kind of what projects are coming up. And like I was saying earlier, keeping yourself well informed about the details of that project, who the builder is, what the incentives they're offering. And then it's very important to also know about competition in that area as well. So, for example, 1107 Hamilton, there's also, James, another project down the street. So it's very important to kind of know what's going on in that area as well. So if I find a client that's looking for Hamilton, I'm going to pitch them 1107, but if that's not their cup of tea, I have other things to offer them as well. And I can also very easily say, hey, 1107 is the better investment because it's better price per square foot or whatever it may be. But if I don't know anything else going on and they don't like my project and some other agent knows about all of them, they might end up going over to him and he might be able to compare everything and he might even sell him 1107, the one that I had originally pitched. But because he had that extra information, they feel they're getting more value out of that agent. So keeping yourself informed on the market along with self development.
Yes.
Another thing is following up with clients until they say no. This is probably one of the most, I would say personally, like tedious tasks. It's very hard to keep calling the same client when you're not getting the response. Versus you call somebody, give you a response, you get excited, you want to call them, you're like, this could be a deal for me. But keep following up until people do say no. And it's not something I'm really that great at, but this year that's one of my goals to make sure I keep calling people. They don't know who I am. They don't know what I look like. It doesn't matter. People will be a little bit rude here and there, but that's just part of the game. You got to keep it going. It's not personal. So keep calling them until they say no.
Yes.
Another thing I will be doing this year for myself, which I would recommend everybody do as well, is you need to become your own biggest critic. Critique yourself compared to your business in the previous years. Look at it. Let's say you like for myself, like in like let's say in 1 month I was able to do 4 deals. You need to sit there and analyze that and think, okay, I did ABC to do 5 deals. Now, what can I do more to change that 5 deals into, let's say, 10 deals? So you really want to, critique your own self and, make sure you're improving upon your own self. Like, be your own competition. And that way, you're always improving every year.
Yes.
And I think building that confidence and belief in myself as well. It's sometimes you feel like, it's you. It may not be you. It may just be the market. It may just be the clients you spoke to. They just happen to not be interested. You need to have that confidence that, yeah, I'm a great agent. I know what I'm talking about. I'm selling great product. And then keep that mentality and just go through the numbers and just go through the calls. And,
Yeah.
you will end up converting at some point. And for me, like I get a lot of inspiration from Smriti. I know Smriti's gonna do her own presentation as well. But like with Smriti, I know like doesn't matter whether it's working for her or not working for her work ethic, her numbers, nothing changes. She continues on with the same like passion, the same drive. For myself, that's very difficult. I do go into like, I start feeling a little bit negative. But with Samriti, like I'll have conversations with her where I'll be like, I'm feeling a little bit negative about the market. And she may also feel a little bit similar to me, but that does not reflect in her work. She keeps it going. And that's why I feel like she sees very good results. So that's why this year, that's my goal to implement that. Keep making the calls, keep doing the follow ups, keep myself educated, keep myself in the office, keep myself in that mindset, regardless of what else is going on around me. So
Yeah.
that's like an inspiration I've had from her. And yeah, I think just staying up to date on projects, being able to provide your clients with a better experience where they feel, you're giving them all the information. And like Parm had said last time as well, he said, when you are giving your clients the full information, you're providing that value, you don't have to apply so much pressure because, it sells itself. The project will sell itself to the right buyer, the person who's in the market. And yeah, that's kind of, I know I spoke a lot and I said a bunch of stuff back to back, but I think that's pretty much it for me. And then, of course, if anybody has any questions, let me know.
No, like Neetu, you did amazing job actually. You covered what worked for you, what did not work for you. You also covered your plan for this coming year. You have kind of also told us your strength, your weakness, and of course we go with our strength, but we also are working on our weakness. And I think amazing what everyone else thinks about this. I like learned a lot, Neetu. Like frankly, I have all these notes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's
No, that's
great.
good. That's good. No, I really wanted to like I was telling you as well, like before the beginning of the year, we're still in the beginning of the year. It's a really good time to do a little bit of self-reflection, set
Yes,
goals for yourself, for what you
yes.
want to do for the year, really, dissect how your last year went and see and list the things that you did. Maybe they were successful for you, maybe they weren't. Look at all the things you did, and now look at that list and say, what can I change and what can I add to make it a better year for myself? So I think I took the time to do that. And then I had made all these lists for myself. And then I kind of just, put that into the group and let you guys know what I was working on for this year. So I would definitely recommend everybody to do some planning and really, set your goals and your mindset like clear for this year.
So, Neetu, I like your idea about coming to the office. I think that also helps me a lot. If I'm at home, I will not be as productive at all. Also, I think the one thing that changed like last year for me was also going to the presentation like places, talking to the builder, meeting them, seeing what's working out for them, who is the people who are like buying, and if I see some other agent with the client, I usually get upset with myself. I say, you know what, if that person can have the client, why can't I have the client? Why can't I move the unit?
I agree. And, that was us last year too. We'd go to these 1107 presentations and I'd call
Yes.
Sunil and I'd be like, oh my God, that guy from that team had like 5 people there. Like, we need to get more people here. So, you see people around you and, you'd be surprised. There's a lot of people in the market that aren't that well informed, that aren't that great at their job, but they're doing the deals and they're doing the work because their work ethic is on point and
Yeah.
they're keeping that mindset like, no, I'm going to close. And they're just doing like, they're calling more people, they're putting in that work. So, that's number one. And then, of course, keeping yourself well informed and educated is very important as well.
100%. Perfect. That's actually amazing. Who has any other question for Neetu?
Only one thing for Neetu. Amazing, Neetu.
Oh
It was
wow, you're
damn
back.
neat. It was damn neat. I loved everything in that.
Oh, thank you so
And
much.
this time, I love that motivation that you have in you. It's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm looking forward to meet you soon.
Yeah, I'll see you today.
All right. Okay. I'll see you today
So,
then.
so who here thinks Neetu will do amazingly well this year?
I mean, she is
Yeah, definitely
amazing. We
she will
know
do
that.
well.
She is amazing. I have no doubts in that.
Yes, perfect. As Sunny, are you sleeping? Come
No,
on.
no, no, I'm here only. No, she'll definitely do well. The good thing I liked about what she said is like following up, right? Until they say no. That's something like, that's
Yes,
something I never thought about. So
yes,
that's,
Can I add something into it?
yes.
yeah.
Sure, I can. I know it's Neetu's thing. Just one thing that I would like to add from my side, what I like to do is that I don't look at the numbers of calls that I make. I look at the number of appointments that I make. And then I call accordingly. That, okay, my
Okay.
target is to book at least 7 to 8 appointments in this weekend. So I make calls as per that.
So
Yeah,
I
I
just have one question, like to Neetu and Smriti both, right? Since you guys are like doing really good. So how do you like push the client for that appointment? So I'm getting up there, they're like talking to them, they're interested, and then what do you say? Like just come to the presentation center, or is there a tactic or something that you just
So for myself personally, you have to kind of sell them on the value of coming in person. So for example, it may be looking at the model homes and, like seeing the presentation there. And I kind of tell them that, hey, like, come in. I'll be able to give you a full presentation on the project. You can look at the model homes. You can kind of get an idea of what the area looks like and see the site as well. So you really want to sell what's there. And the model homes, for example, like even Sumiti, like I always ask, I no matter what I think I know, I'm always asking my colleagues what they're doing. So I know Sumiti always says, like, you can kind of get an idea of like what the home will look like. And I'll always be like, you can see what the features and finishes of the home will look like and get an idea of this, if this is for you or not. So I always say or not, because I don't want them to feel like if they come there, like I'm gonna, like, force this on them. I want them to feel like this is, very lighthearted, very flexible for them, so they feel comfortable coming. When it is an in-person meeting, let's say in the office, I try to tell them that, I have a full presentation I can give them when it's in office only, though. And I'll say, if I do have other projects as well that I can also walk you through, and we can compare and we can find a project that is best suited for you. So that way they know I'm there to work for them and I'm not really just pushing this one project. Of course, underneath it all, I'm pushing this one project, but I want to get them there first, right?
okay.
And that makes sense. Yeah, we need to. I think this is something that's lacking in me. I'll start my calls today with the idea to show them the model homes and then go from there.
You know what I say for the model homes? I don't push them. I keep it very simple. I just say like this, okay, since you're interested in this, why don't you come and take a look into it? You can see the ideas. We have so many floor plans. We have so many model homes, right? So it gets very difficult to explain over the phone and discuss it at length. So it's easier when you're in person and you see it for yourself, then you get a better idea. And then we can discuss as per your family need, which kind of a model suits you, what budget suits you, and then we can tailor it according to you.
Okay, that's a smart way.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I tell them, they ask that there's no obligation. If you're coming to the model home, you don't have to buy.
Okay.
Is idea what exactly you're getting into. And the USP that I create is that all the builders do not have model homes. At least this builder has a model home for you to see.
Okay. Got you.
Okay. That's good.
And I also do say to them, like, I'll be like, if you're interested, I would highly recommend that you come and, take a look. So they also kind of feel like it's like the next step, where, like, if they are interested, the next step would be to come and do an in-person meeting. So I always tell them, like, oh, like, if you're interested in this project, like, I highly recommend you come take a look. A lot of clients prefer to see the homes in person, and they can kind of get a feel for what they will look like once they're built. And that's a little bit easy to do because of course clients want to see what it's going to look like at the end, right? Especially when we're doing like a
Yeah.
detached homes and whatnot and townhomes. But when we're doing like condos and stuff like that too, then I'm selling them like come to the builder's presentation office, and I'll say like, we'll walk you through the entire presentation. We like usually builders will have like a 3D model of what the building will look like, and I'll tell them that they can look at the site. And I feel like for condo homes especially, because there's no inventory to show, their presentations are very, very strong. Like they're very sales based. So if you can get your client there, it'll be like the representatives there will do a very good job of selling it to them themselves. But you just want to make sure, before you do that, that you have somebody there that you're working with, that you're well informed with. So that's why I say you want to go there and you want to know who the sales team is and all of that, just so that when you are going there, you're able to call this representative and say, hey, I'm bringing a client in. Will you be available, or who will be available? And then that will make it a little bit easier for you. But yeah.
Okay, that's good.
And when you get the clients over there, most of them, 50% are sold over there only when they look at the property. So your work is done, half done. I'm not going to say that all of them are sold, but at least you have, if you're taking 10 people, out of them, at least 4, 5 are sold looking at the place. So it gets easier for you to sell the property.
Yeah, that's the thing. The only thing is for me to just get that appointment, right? I'm trying to get them there. So I was just trying to see what works.
Yeah, and Sunny, you know what? Like for me as well, like I didn't honestly, like towards the end of the year, I tried really hard to get appointments and it just wasn't working for me. And I think for me that was like reflected in my numbers. If I had just made more calls, try to connect with more people, I probably would have gotten more appointments. But like I'm in the same boat. It's not that easy to get the appointment, but like you have to make more calls then. Like, if you make 100 calls and you're like, I have 0 appointments, that doesn't mean like, oh no, like it's not working for
Hello?
me, I'll try again tomorrow. That just means you got to make another 100 calls.
Yeah.
You just got to keep it going.
Okay, that's good. That's good.
Smriti did a lot of appointments last year, and she was just busy. Going to Niagara, going to Brantford, going to Caledonia.
Yeah.
And the only thing was calls, 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 and a lot of follow-ups too.
No, I like both of Neetu's and her like mindset, right? So Smriti is more focused on appointments, just try to get as much as appointments, and Neetu is about most calls, calls, calls. So yeah,
Yeah. Because I mean, the more calls you make, then you're gonna get the appointments, right? So like, even if you're not getting the appointments, you gotta work on that. Means you gotta work on the number of calls you're making. But like, of course, appointments is the highlight, because if you're all you're doing is just calls every day, but you're not even connecting with people. You're making 100 calls. You connected with like 5 people. That's not gonna work out for you, right? So the
yeah.
more calls you make, the more you connect, and the more appointments you will get.
Okay. So do you guys have like a specific time to make calls, or is it just you just call
No
in the morning?
specific time. It is up to you. You have to, you make calls in the morning, you see how much response you're getting. Then you make
Yeah.
calls in the afternoon, evening, then you see. But, generally what I have noticed that I've tried doing it, okay, I won't make calls in the morning, I'll make in the evening, or I'll make it in the afternoon.
Yeah.
But it doesn't work. If people pick up, they pick up anytime.
So
There are days,
Yeah.
when I don't get a single, I'm making 50, 60 calls, but I'm able to connect only with 3, 4, 4 people at the most. There are
Yeah.
few days like that, but make the calls anytime.
Yeah, even for myself, like I think any time that you can take the time to make the calls, that's the most
Exactly.
important. So if you're a morning person and you feel that that's when you're at your best and you're able to make more calls, a lot of us have like families and children. So whatever time works best for you is the number one thing. I've made calls in the morning and I've also made calls in the evening. And, it depends on the day. It depends. It's honestly up to luck. Like I've had really great evenings because a lot of people are off work then. And, a lot of people are answering their phones. So evenings has worked out for me as well, but so has the morning. So, there'll be some days morning doesn't work and some days evening doesn't work. So I think overall, all that matters is as long as you're getting it done. And if you feel like, you made some calls in the morning and you're available again in the evening, sure, make them again in the evening. So as long as you get it done, I think that's the number one thing. But, the timing doesn't matter as much. What I would say is if you're making calls before 11 a.m., personally, I felt that there's not a lot of people answering. 9 a.m., 10 a.m., a lot of people are on the way to work. They're busy with their children in the morning. You do kind of get a little bit less of a response. But if that's the only time that works for you, doesn't matter. Make the calls then. Leave the voicemails, give them the text, give them the calls and emails, and they'll get back to you. So, regardless, number one thing is do it when it works for you. But I would say, around noon and after is like a better time to kind of connect with somebody.
So I have one quick question.
Okay.
Sorry, when people don't pick up and it goes to voicemail, do you think we should leave a voice message?
So everybody's different. I know Samriti always leaves voicemails. She always leaves her name and number and says like she's calling regarding a project. I never leave voicemails. Here and there I have left them. Sunil gave me a really great tip. He's like, give them a call and say, like, let's say the person, like, I'm calling Anshul. I'll be like, hey Anshul, it's Neetu. Give me a call back. So that kind of Sunil also said that like, it gives them, they're kind of curious. They're like, oh, who's this Neetu person? She knows my name. Like, let me give her a call back. But for me personally, voicemails don't really work for me. I feel like people listen to it and then they know, like, you're calling for sales. So I never leave voicemails. And then that also gives me the opportunity to call them again and again. If I call them, they don't answer, I leave them a voicemail. They don't call me back. I call them again the next day. By the third, fourth time, like it feels a little like, even they might be like, you left me a voicemail. I didn't call you back. So why are you calling me again and again? So
Mm.
I try not to leave the voicemail. That way I have the opportunity to call them 20 times if I want. But it's
Okay.
honestly what works for you. Like Samriti always leaves a voicemail and she's doing amazing. So,
Yeah.
maybe that's something I need to implement a little bit. And I'll also check like on Follow Up Boss, you can see people that are opening your emails. It'll tell you if they've clicked on something. So those kind of people, they're very interested. They're opening your email again and again. That means this project has caught their eye. So for those people, I'll call them a couple of times. If they do not answer, I'll leave them a voicemail or I'll send them a text message saying, hey, it's me. I'm calling about this project. And because it looks like they're very interested, chances are they will get back to me and say, oh, like I didn't realize, like, I thought it was like a random number. So you gotta like, pick and choose for me personally. But then of course, Samriti has her own experience where she does always leave voicemails.
Okay, got you. So I'll see how it goes. I'll probably try listening to Smriti once and then uh, leave my voicemail if it makes more sense to me. I'll have to try, I guess, both the techniques for now.
Yeah, and like in the beginning, I did leave voicemails as well. So try it out. Like you can try leaving the voicemail, see if it works for you. You feel like it's not that working for you that much, you can stop like leaving the voicemail. So it's not like a make it or break it, but it's
Okay,
something you can definitely try and see if it's something that works for you.
correct. Yeah, I'll do that. Thank you.
What about like just instead of leaving a voice message, you can send a text message, right? Like with the template.
Yeah, I usually send the text messages. I don't leave the voicemail just because in the text message you can like put a little bit more detail without it sounding too long. So if I'm leaving like a text message, I'll just say, "Hey, this is Neetu calling. Neetu, I called you in regards to this project." And just give like a little bit of detail about the project, or you can say, "Hey, if you want more information, like feel free to give me a call or send me like a text." And then people will sometimes text you back.
Okay, so I think that's a better option to text them rather than leaving a voice message. That okay, I'm following up on this project since you showed your interest or something on those lines. Eh?
Yeah, and I think it just depends. Like for some people, some people respond better to voicemails, some people respond better to text messages. So I would say like, try out both methods.
Mm.
Why not? And see kind of what works for you.
Okay.
Some people are very good when they leave their voicemails. Like Samriti is very good. Like in one breath, she gets all of it out. Like she'll be like, Samriti, Spark Realty, calling you about your interest in Caledonia. Have houses from 500s. Call me back without even taking a breath. I like for me it takes too long, and I feel like my voicemail is too long. So try it out, see what works for you.
Okay, that's smart. Even my voice messages are way, way too long. I can talk at a stretch, but I need to be very crisp, as you said, and listen to Smriti, I guess. I'll do that.
Yeah, and guys, just so you know, when I first joined, I learned everything from Smriti and Sunil by listening to them
Right.
make the
Stop it,
calls.
Neetu. Stop
Yeah, so
it.
that's
You
what
are
I'm
very
saying.
good.
It's no, it's important for you to come to the office. You learn from everybody. Like the way I pitch, I've picked up a little bit from Sunil, I've picked up a little bit from Samriti, and then I've put my own touch into it. My calls don't sound anything like Sunil's or Samriti's, but I learned the basis from their calls and kind of how they do their calls. So regardless, like I would say come to the office and at least get your basics down. And also another thing that I didn't mention earlier is like I know Sunny was asking like when people have these like, they're bringing up these points as to why they're not interested or whatever it is. Being in the office really helps because you can bounce ideas off one another and you can just like be like, hey, my client's like saying this, like what can I say back or whatever it may be. Or if they have a question that you don't know the answer to, you can always say, let me, like I bullshit so much. Like I'll be like, oh, let me call the builder and I'll call you right back, even though I'm not calling the builder, and I'll just go to Sunil and be like, oh, like what's the maintenance or whatever it is. So you really want to, be in an environment where people can help you, especially in the beginning when you're still trying to learn like a lot of the information and who to call and how to get that information. So yeah, being in the office will help you improve the number of calls you make, the quality of the calls you make, and the quality of the conversations you're having.
Yeah, that's important, I guess.
Okay.
Perfect. Rakeshji, do you have any question for Neetu?
I'm okay, sir. Right now, I have a few questions, but when I meet personally with Smriti or Neetu, so I'll put it on.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. That sounds good. I learned a lot, Neetu, as simple as that. I think it was very good. So I have all the notes. I think probably everyone should have made some notes. Next year will be like next week will be Smriti's presentation if she is there, right? So we are all telling our secrets, whatever is working for us. So everyone can like learn from that and get the best of the practices, and that's how we can all grow together, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody make sure you're there for Samriti's presentation because it's going to be good. Samriti's a freaking beast, and we all have so much to learn from her.
I'm horrible in talking. Come on, guys. Come one to one. I'll teach you
Oh, you're
everything, whatever
horrible.
I know. Yeah.
You know what? You're not horrible at talking because you're closing deals. So that means you are good at talking to clients. So you can talk to us.
And
All
Neetu,
right.
another thing I just want to ask is like, what are the TV show recommendations you were talking about?
I
Like,
mean, I'll be honest, they're entertainment shows. Like I love like I watch Selling Sunset, I watch Buying Beverly Hills, Owning
can you just send me the
Manhattan,
list? That's fine. Because
Selling
I'm
Houses.
watching like Squid Game and stuff, right? So I need
Oh
to
no, no,
change.
no. You got to watch the real estate shows. I mean, I'll be honest, they're a little bit like, there's a lot of women in the office, so it's a lot of drama on the shows, but forget the drama. The properties are stunning and the amount of commission they make is like crazy. And you'll see
Okay.
like some of these people have only been in the game for like a year or two. So, of course, these people have connections. That's why they're on a TV show, but it just gets your wheels kind of, turning. You're like, you know what? Like I can make money too. So, yeah, no problem. I'll send you a list over.
Okay. Thanks.
Perfect. Sounds good. Anyone else has any question? Mamta, Anjal?
I'm okay, thank you. But yeah, it was very informative.